So here we are. We are actually in week 2 now of our February 2024 series. So if you're listening to this later, I always like to put like the date when we start recording these because I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but if you're a podcast listener like myself, I'm always curious about okay, when they relate to something that's happening in the world, like what day and time of this recording. Then I have to go look at the episode and see where it's at. So for those that are wondering, this is February 2024. And so excited that you guys are here. We are right in the beginning of our 4-week series all about relationships, as it talks about with coaching and counseling and pastoral care. Basically, in these caring relationships, where does the relationship actually look like? How does it change? How does it evolve? How can we protect ourselves? How can we protect others? All that good stuff. And today I'm really excited because I'm talking about the peer to peer relationships. Now, I'm going to start at the beginning because a lot of times I mention this and people are like, they just come automatically with this presupposed idea of what that can look like. Because here's the thing, peer to peer relationships look different based on what we've experienced, right? So let me just explain to you what I mean when I'm talking about peer to peer. So peer to peer to me means you can have different peers of so many different different environments. For instance, I'm a part of an amazing group that's called Christian Coaching Academy. And that group has tons of different coaches, but it also has other people that are just entrepreneurs that are Christians. The one thing that unites all of us in that group is that we're Christian. I believe all of us are Christian. I mean, it's you wouldn't. There might be some people that aren't. I don't know. I'm going to assume, but prayers there. We can talk about God and our relationships. We can talk about how God is moving. We mentioned Bible verses. Like it's a safe place to come and connect and be seen. And so that is an environment where that's peer to peer. But for instance, I also have another group that's just for mental health professionals. And that group specifically, it's not by me, but I'm a part of it. It's not necessarily Christian. It doesn't have that. There are a lot of people in that group that are, but so that's a different peer to peer relationship. I also have another group that I start that's called Tip Community Group, or even some of my tip groups. All those are Christian. All of those include people that are pouring out in some ways, especially the Tip Community Group has people that really do either want to A, start a group, or B, have a group already and they want to show up more authentically with really deep skills and really deep relational practices and being able to share their story well. Those groups are deep, deep level where I know that I can show up and be seen and be heard. I come in with those expectations, but those people are also peers. And as I show up in that group, I'm also in that reality like, wait a second, I'm also the professional that's like coordinating and facilitating all this. So it's a different role for me. At the same time, again, that's a different level of a peer to peer relationship. The one thing that's common within all of these is that there are peers you can relate in some way. Either your counselors or your coaches or your mental health professionals or your pastoral care leaders or your mentors or your discipleship givers, whatever that looks like my Luke 10 group. I'm thinking all of these people just want to be able to do what God is calling them to do in the harvest field that God is calling them in. Very unique group, and we practice really deep relational skills because it's beginning a whole new revolution. So when you think about it, you probably have a lot more peer-to-peer relationships than what you're thinking. I do like a lot of relationships, so I am in many relationships with a lot of different people, but same thing with peer-to-peer relationships, you can have different levels. So on the surface, peer-to-peer relationships are you're with that person because you have something in common. You have something in common. Usually it's a work that you're trying to do, an avenue that you're in. You have something in common with that person. And here's another thing. You believe that that person has something that they can give to you, offer to you, invest in you. And usually they believe the same thing about you. If it is different, it is normally not a peer to peer relationship, or it is, but you're really in the mentoring relationship, or you're in the coach to client relationship. A lot of things that I try to encourage people when they start to go into peer to peer relationships, you may have a lot in common. Is it I encourage peer-to-peer relationships to be equal, meaning both sides have something to offer into that relationship. One's not further down the path and trying to make sure that the other person can catch up. Not even vice versa. You're at the same place. So your question when you go into one of these relationships, should be first of all, what do I have to offer? What do I have to offer that can encourage, that can benefit, that can give space to this other person? So many times we miss that. We're so focused on, wait a second, that person has an amazing personality. I want to be around them. I want to be close to them. This is great. They can offer me this and this and this and this. And you're like, hold up. Let's put the brakes on just a second, because it's not all about what that person can give to us. It's just as much about what we have that we can give to that person. Okay. And these peer to peer relationships, what does that look like? And that's another question, too. Is this going to just be a one on one kind of relationship, friendship, or is this going to be one thing that we create a group? The safety around a group is that, yes, you can hear from many different voices. And sometimes I will say this, in a group setting, it can feel more equal depending on the way a facilitator, a coach, a counselor really orchestrates those groups. I try in everything I do to create equality within my groups, because I think that's a safer place to really be and function and really do deep level of work and healing and maturity skills. That's what I try to do. That's what I would recommend in a real peer-to-peer relationship, is to have that equality, of have that safety there in that group setting. But if it is one to one, that you've clarified with that other person, hey, I believe you have X, Y, and Z, but I also believe that I have A, B, and C that could offer you. So would you like to get together and do a Zoom coffee? We use that term all the time in the Faith to Influence group that I'm a part of. Would you like to get a Zoom coffee? Or would you like to meet for coffee if you're close enough to meet for coffee? We do the same thing. This is great. I want to learn more about your organization. You want to learn about mine. Great. Here's the thing, there's different between a one-off peer-to-peer meeting versus, hey, let's continue to meet every month. Let's continue to meet every couple weeks. That's a different level of an ask. And so that's another thing too, is when we meet with that person or we agree to have that group, we need to go, okay, what is the level of ask that we're doing? Is this just a one-off meeting? Or is this like, wait, we want to start meeting on a regular basis? So again, you're going to go back to the previous podcast that we just talked about. Is, okay, if this is going to be a reoccurring commitment, you need to go back and assess, okay, how much time do I have to give to this person? How much time am I expecting them to give to me, to this group? But then also, where's the beginning and end of my commitment? There is an end. There is a renewal time. This is not forever and ever. Amen. I don't care. Even if they're a church volunteer, you guys, we need to have a beginning and an ending, or at least a reassessment meeting. How are you doing? How is this benefiting us? Are we at the place that we thought we were going to be? Can we go back and just rehash some of the meetings that we had, some of the successes that we had, some of the frustrations that we had? In any kind of relationship, whether it's marital, whether it's parent versus kid, not parent versus kid. Let's rewind that. Parent and kid relationship. There should be some of these assessment meetings. I don't really call them that, but these awareness meetings that we come and say, hey, are we where we thought we were going to be? That's a really powerful statement. Are we really where we thought we were going to be? You're not just making goals, you're making progress. You're taking time to really invest in that person. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to them to have a come to Jesus awareness meeting where you go, yeah, we are where we thought we would be, or no, like this isn't working. And if it's not, you get to decide, okay, are we going to do what's needed to make it work? Or are we just going to continue and maybe change the goal? Or are we just not going to try this part of the relationship anymore? Doesn't mean you can't still be peer-to-peer relationship friends. It just doesn't mean that you're going to keep meeting as frequently anymore. Now I'm going to go a little deeper, because as you know, here in Step Out and Thrive, we have deeper tip groups and tip community groups, which very much are peer-to-peer. Everybody in those groups are pouring out in some way whether it's a one-on-one clients, whether it's group clients, whether a lot of my tip community people are either licensed or certified or moving in that direction. They're serious about what they're doing. They feel called to what they're doing. What makes those groups different than just the normal peer-to-peer, hey, let's connect relationships? Number one is that both of these groups, whether the tip group that only usually meets for 6 to 8 weeks over one specific skill versus the tip community groups that meet for 6 months at a time, these groups are deeply wanting to connect. In a nutshell, they are coming forward and they're going, look, we are pouring out all day. We are trying to do what we do. We know that God's called us to do this, but I need somebody that sees me. And I need somebody with the skills and the resources that wants to grow in this to be able to offer this withness in a better way. I want people that really want to do relationships well. They're showing up at this group at 6 to 7, and we check in with one another. We do appreciation moments. We celebrate what God is doing and continuing to do. In our tip community groups, we get to know one another's stories, and we get to be a part of one another's stories in the confessional communities that we create in that. We do hot seats where, we really get to sit around and dream about their mission and their vision and what God's calling them to do. We ask curious questions. We don't just know how their week went. We are invited into their weeks. And so you're really traveling that road together. I've had some people be part of my groups like Bethany. I feel closer with this group than I have with people that I've been friends with for a long time. And the difference is because you know what you're getting into. You know that everybody in that group really wants to be relationally connected. And when ruptures happen, we're not just going to go, we're done, we're over. No, instead, we're going to go, wait a second. We invested time and energy and sometimes finances to be here. We are going to see this through. And we believe that even ruptures can be handled in a safe and caring and compassionate way. That's the difference between just a normal peer-to-peer relationship, let's get coffee, let's brainstorm, versus what we do here and step out and thrive with peer-to-peer relationships. So again, I'm hoping you're walking away with, okay, you may be redefining what peer-to-peer relationships look for. But B, I hope you're really walking away with, what am I inviting people into? When I say, hey, I want to go get a virtual coffee, or hey, I want to get a coffee, or hey, I want to go get lunch, or hey, let's talk about how we're both doing the same thing and I just need encouragement. You really spell out to that person what you're asking for, what you have to offer into the relationship, what you're hoping to get back from them. And you're defining, hey, this is going to be a one off meeting, or hey, let's keep doing this month after month. And let's do this for about 5 times and let's see where we land, and we'll see if we're both getting benefit from this. Hopefully, you're taking it more seriously than just let's just grab a coffee, because God has called us into more. And I know that He can do that. And some of these peer to peer relationships literally change the world. There are people out there that have the same passion, the same fire as you do. And we know when fire and fire get together, what happens? More fire. Okay, it ignites the fire. You feel seen, you feel understood. So it is important to get together with those peer-to-peer relationships that encourage us, that spur us on along the way that God has called us. But let's be smart. Let's work easier, and let's make a bigger impact with every step that we take in these peer-to-peer relationships together. That's all I have for this week, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. And remember, if you want to connect with me at any time, you can always email me, Bethany@stepoutandthrive.com. Would love to know any curious questions that you have about this topic. All right, see you guys later. Bye.